Hello, so I was asked by a supporter on Patreon called William, so thanks for your support William, how can you store water, or what would be good options for storing water for survival or long-term and short-term use, all that sort of things in, I guess a sort of breakdown of civilization kind of thing, or just when there's some sort of emergency in your area and you can't get fresh water for a while. Now, I think I've probably said this before to a lot of people, but just to clarify, I do some prepping stuff, but most of my prepping stuff is short-term, not long-term. So yes, in the house there is canned food, there is lots of sealed food, there are sealed bottles of water and things like that. But I don't plan for anything that's going to last years, just because I think at that point you're either going to have other options or you're going to be dead. And I've got not enough storage in the house anyway, with all the gas masks and whatever else. So again, I might not be the best person to ask. I'm going to say all the information I at least know of, and I advise if you're interested in this that you do a lot more reading from various sources and things like that, and don't just take my word for any of this. But, it's a suggested video, so I'll do it. So, let's say your tap water is safe to begin with. Well, a good thing you can do is every time you drink something that's in a plastic bottle or any sort of container, wash that out properly, then fill the bottle up with tap water. Here is a canteen filled with tap water. Now, if you filled it with tap water, and your tap water, as I said, is safe, what you can do is you can keep this stored in a cool, dark space for about 6 months, is what I've read. Some places suggest, shorter, other places say it lasts longer. And then after 6 months, you'd have to pour it away and replace it. So, rather than spending a fortune on bottled water to begin with, what you can do if your tap water is safe is just buy a few refillable bottles, or as many refillable bottles as you want. Fill it up with tap water, make sure you know how long it's been in there, then you can kind of cycle it. If your tap water is still safe, pour it away every month, refill it, and then you've got, another 6 months from that bottle. Obviously this is my Osprey canteen, but works perfectly. Again, this is good because light's not going to get through it. As I said, most people suggest storing water in a cool, dark place. If you've got a cupboard out of the way, store it in there. Now, if there's maybe some sort of bacteria in the water, this is where I'm not an expert, because I've read lots of conflicting information on this, so I'm going to present the stuff I've read, then it's up to you to do your own research. Now, one of the things, obviously, I'm pretty sure would work well is putting activated carbon in a bottle, leaving it in there for long enough, and then obviously it should be drinkable. Some people have said that activated carbon doesn't deal with microbes, others have said it deals with microbes fine, so your guess is as good as mine. Do your own research. You can buy activated carbon very cheaply online, in storage boxes, and then you just use it. How I've seen people do it is most people who, when I've at least, seen people have done this, they have a water bottle and they have a big lump of activated carbon in it, so there's no risk of you drinking the actual carbon itself. And then the big lump of carbon, obviously when the water's in there, you can't just fill up the bottle and drink it if the water's contaminated. You have to obviously wait for the charcoal to absorb it. But the charcoal as well should deal with other kind of nasty chemicals in the water. Another idea I've had that I think should work, but again, as I said, I'm not an expert on this, so, make sure you do your research before doing anything like this, is that you should be able to mix things like vodka and maybe other spirits with water, a small amount of alcohol with the water, and that should kill a lot of the bacteria and things that are in the water. Obviously, yes, you're then going to get a bit of alcohol from the drinking water as well, but it should work from everything I've read. I've read some sources that say it doesn't work, but they don't actually explain why, so, that's not really a good explanation as to why it wouldn't work. An interesting thing is, historically in lots of European nations, people drank beer, a very low alcohol percentage beer, but rather than water, because the regular water wasn't safe, but beer was, again because the microbes and everything are killed by the alcohol. It was quite common actually in the Victorian period for children to drink 1 or 2% alcohol per day, not regular water, because if you haven't got clean water, alcohol is actually very watered down. Alcohol is a lot safer. During, I think it was on the cholera epidemics, the people who worked in the brewery and drank beer all day were the people who were doing the best out of everybody. The people who drank from the water taps were the ones who died. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, you should be able to maybe, for example, fill up a canteen, pour some vodka or something in, store it up, give it a shake, leave it long enough, and it should be safe to drink, in my opinion anyway. As I said, we'll have to see if, do your own research into that, see what you can come up with. Another thing I've heard that does seem to make sense, but again it's not something I personally want to do myself, and please do research into this before you ever think of doing it, is supposedly you can get household bleach and you can mix a very small amount of bleach with water, let it sit there long enough, and then that bleach should kill the bacteria, and obviously you have bleach tasting water, but the bleach will be watered down enough that it's not harmful. Again, this is something I personally wouldn't do unless you really had to, and apparently it's very specific on the kinds of bleach you can use, so please, if you want to do that, do a lot of research before you start drinking bleach, because that's obviously a stupid thing to do, you know, in terms of safety, unless you do it properly. As said, I think alcohol would be the much better option. Now, there's also lots of companies that make good water filtration devices and things like that. Would a conventional Brita filter be good enough for survival? I don't know. I've got a Brita Jug. I'll tell you what, I'll stop the video and get a Brita Jug now. Okay, so the Brita Jug, fairly simple how it works. You get lots of different brands of these. I'm not actually using official Brita cartridges anymore because you can get, you know, other brands of the cartridges that are compatible, which are half the price, exact same thing. How these work is you fill the top section up with water, the jug, the filter sort of sits in the middle of the jug, and then the clean water filters through. So basically what happens is, and you might notice it does look a little bit green on here, that's because, you know, I don't use the Brita Jug all that frequently, to be honest. I mostly use it when I'm refilling the coffee machine, the kettle, to avoid them getting lime scale in them. But again, the Brita filter, as far as I'm aware, has both a particulate and a carbon filter in it. The idea is that stuff is both filtered through a particle filter and a carbon filter, you know, like how gas mask filters work. Same logic. That should get any of the nasty stuff, or most of the nasty stuff, out of the water. It then sits in this area ready to pour. It's designed so only water pours from the bottom section, not the top section. Again, something like this is probably very practical if it's in your house and you can get access to water, but it's just the water's not good. If you're looking for something a lot more complicated or interesting, for various amounts of money you can buy the sports and outdoor sort of hiking and trekker purification systems, normally ones that have some sort of pump that you know, hand pump that you fill up and it pumps the water through, or, you know, like squeezy bottles that have a system where you're pumping it through. Normally it's a particulate and carbon combined filter again. They're quite expensive, and personally I have no need for them. If I go out hiking or anything like that, I'm only normally going out for a day. I can fill up a canteen like this, have it in a canteen pouch, carry it on me, you know, water's absolutely fine, or buy a couple of bottles of bottled water, put them in a rucksack. For me that would be fine. But obviously people who do a lot of hiking and things like that, it makes sense to buy the ones that let you filter, you know, stream water. And obviously you should be filtering stream water, because I read there was some sort of lefty news source a while ago that says, oh, that's white privilege, filtering water. You don't need to do that, silly white people. Well, you kind of do, because if there's dead stuff upstream, and there's horrible bacteria or something's pooing in the water upstream, you don't want to be drinking that water downstream. Filtering water makes a lot of sense if you're outside in the wild, you know, because of cholera and dysentery and all those horrible things. Probably best you're drinking clean water. So yes, filtering water from a river, even if it looks clean, is very important. Another thing you can do that's a lot cheaper, probably not cheaper in the long run, but you can buy is water purification tablets that dissolve in water. Basically, you get your bottle of water filled up with, you know, maybe not clean water. You drop a purification tablet in, screw the bottle back up, maybe give it a shake or just leave it there. It dissolves into the water, and again, it should kill anything nasty in the water that would, you know, cause you harm. Again, it does depend if you can say, as I was saying, get tap water and it's not safe, what's actually in it. If it's just microbes and things, like we're saying, yes, you should be able to kill them with alcohol or bleach or whatever else. If you've got things in the water that are actually poisonous, like lead and other things, then yeah, you might not even be able to filter that water, I don't know. As I said, I'm not an expert. I know activated charcoal can deal with a lot of these things, but I don't want to say just use activated charcoal and then it's something that, you know, the carbon can't absorb and you still get poisoned from drinking water. So there you go. As I've said, you've got lots of options. What I'd personally recommend, I think, is just get lots of empty bottles, and, you know, while your tap water is still safe, fill them up, stick them in a cupboard, you know, and keep emptying them and refilling them on, you know, maybe have more than one. So every month you do the ones closest to expiry, refill them, you know, do them in blocks like that, and I think that would be a very good option for most people. And as I said, there are lots of different water filtration things you can look at. I'm not the person to basically tell you what's superior to other things. For household use, I have the Brita Jug, as said, if I'm not drinking tap water, because I'm not particularly worried about what's in tap water. I mean, yes, there's fluoride and estrogen in it, which are not probably good for you if you drink too much of it, but, you know, there's nothing poisonous directly in the water if you want to look at it that way. Again, if you live somewhere where tap water is not particularly safe, then you've got all the filtration options and options of buying bottled water and whatever else. But as I said, I'm not the best person to review all of those because, like I said, the hiking ones I don't bother buying them because I personally have no need for them. But obviously, if you do have a need for it, then find places which give good reviews of it, you know, and you can look through the different things and see which is the cheapest ones to buy the refills for, which are the most reliable, which are the least likely to break. Because you can also get those survival straws which have the filter in the straw. You know, drink through the straw and it should filter the water as you suck it through the straw. That would be great, wouldn't it? But like I said, I'm not an expert on those because I personally don't have a need for them. As I said, my preps are mostly short term, just because, you know, the way I look at it, if something really major happens, I might be a bit screwed regardless, so... yeah, so that's my view on it. So thank you for your support on Patreon, William. And obviously, thanks for the question. I hope I've answered it as best I can for you. Or, you know, if you said it might interest other people, so that's my thoughts on it. Again, there's probably some people who can give you much better advice on that than me. I'm just kind of using what I think would be common sense, like, you know, putting alcohol in water. You're drinking diluted alcohol that way, but, you know, it's going to probably kill most of the bacteria in the water. And as I said, most of those things, you don't just fill up the tap water, put a bit of vodka in or some activated charcoal in, then you can immediately drink the water. You probably have to, you know, have the lid on, give it a shake for a bit, and then let it sit for a while before it would be safe. But there you go. But as I said, please, please, please do your own research into this. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on this. Read up what will and won't work from various sources. Don't just trust one thing, especially not those news sources that say... you know, because of white privilege or something, your white male privilege, drink contaminated water. Don't do that.